Welcome to Springfield Career Insights. Tonight, we examine the architecture of every marriage. Communication. Not communication as talking, but communication as emotional intelligence, timing, tone, and the discipline to speak without wounding. We ask a difficult but necessary question. If communication collapses, does the marriage collapse with it? And can a home truly thrive when words become weapons, silence becomes punishment, and misunderstanding becomes the daily language of the couple? To guide us through this civic interrogation, we are joined by His Excellency Dr. Godfrey Gandawa, President of Springfield Research University and Continental Architect of Education 6.0. His work positions communication not as a soft skill, but as the structural foundation of marital peace. Welcome, President. It is a privilege to have you.
Thank you, Doctor. Communication is not an accessory to marriage. It is the marriage. When tone, timing, and emotional maturity collapse, the home becomes unstable. When they are restored, the home becomes whole.
Thank you, Professor. Why do we say communication is marriage, not a part of marriage, but the marriage itself?
Thank you, Doctor. So, communication is not an ingredient of marriage. It is the marriage. Everything else, love, trust, intimacy, partnership, peace, lives or dies inside the quality of communication. Communication is the bloodstream. You see, marriage don't collapse because love disappears. They collapse because communication breaks. When communication is healthy, love breathes and trust grows. When it dies, two strangers share a roof. Communication is how two worlds become one. Two different histories, wounds, expectations, and emotional languages meet through communication. Without it, marriage becomes guesswork, assumptions, and distance. So, communication is how love travels. Affection travels through words, reassurance through tone, understanding through listening, healing through honesty. Without communication, love is no vehicle. You see? So, communication transforms conflict. Healthy couples don't avoid conflict. They communicate through it. Unhealthy couples don't fight too much. They communicate too little. You see? So, conflict isn't the enemy. Silence is. Communication builds and rebuilds trust. Trust is not a feeling, advocate. It's a conversation repeated over time. This hate me. This is what I need. This is how we move forward. So communication keeps couples emotionally married. You see? Not just legally married. A license is paperwork. A wedding is an event. A ring is a symbol. Communication is the covenant. It is the atmosphere of the home, advocate. The truth is simple. A marriage is only as strong as its communication. A couple is only as close as their conversations. A home is only as peaceful as the words spoken inside it. Communication is not part of the marriage. Communication is the marriage advocate. Everything else grows from it, or it dies without it.
Thank you, Professor. What happens when couples talk but do not understand each other?
So thank you, Doctor. So when couples talk but don't understand each other, the tragedy is quiet and devastating. The problem isn't silence, is it? It's noise without meaning, words without connection, dialogue without comprehension. So it feels like communication, but it starves the marriage the same way silence does. They become conversational strangers. They speak but don't connect. Explain but aren't heard. Repeat but nothing learns. So it is the loneliness of being together. So every conversation becomes defense, not revelation. Correction, clarification, justification, counter argument sometimes. No one listens to understand. Everyone listens to respond. You can see that they want to respond before you even finish talking. They are responding. So the marriage becomes a courtroom. They talk at each other, not to each other. You see? Words turn into weapons. Tone becomes armor. Silence becomes punishment. The bridge becomes the battlefield. So they start hearing wounds instead of what? Of words. So a sentence feels like an attack. A question feels like suspicion. A concern feels like criticism. So without understanding everything, is filtered through fear. So emotional safety disappears. You cannot be vulnerable where you are misunderstood. You see? You cannot be honest where you are punished for truth. So they shrink, they hide, they speak less, not from emptiness, but from exhaustion, the tired. They begin living parallel lives. Two people under one roof, each carrying unspoken frustrations, each withdrawing into private worlds. So this is how marriages die. Not with shouting, but with misunderstanding. The truth is simple. Talking is not communication. Advocate. Hearing is not understanding. Words are not connection. A marriage survives not because two people speak, but because two people understand. Understanding is the oxygen. Without it, the marriage suffocates slowly.
Thank you, Professor. How does tone, not words, determine whether a message heals or wounds?
Thank you, Doctor. So, tone is the emotional temperature of a message. It is the climate where words live. The difference between medicine and poison. So, comfort and injury, connection and collapse. So, words carry meaning. Tone carries impact. And in marriage, tone is louder than language. So the heart hears tone before it hears the words. So before the sentence, it feels the softness or sharpness, the warmth or coldness, the calm or aggression. So tone is the doorway. If the doorway is hostile, the message cannot enter. You get it? So tone reveals intention. You can say the right words with the wrong tone and still wound. You can say the wrong words with the right tone and still comfort. So tone says, I'm with you, or I'm against you. I'm trying to understand, or I'm preparing to attack. So tone determines safety. So a soft tone opens the heart. A harsh tone closes it. A gentle tone invites conversation. A sharp tone triggers defense. So tone tells your partner, you can relax here, or you must protect yourself here. Okay, so tone shapes meaning. Where were you can be a question. You see? A concern, an accusation, a warning, or a threat, depending on what? On tone. So, tone decides the direction of the conversation. Soft tone lowers defenses. Harsh tone raises shields. So, respectful tone invites honesty. Disrespectful tone invites silence. So, tone determines whether the moment becomes healing, harmful, or hopeless advocate. So, tone is the emotional mirror. It reveals whether you are calm or chaotic, listening or reacting, loving or punching, building or breaking. So, words are the body of communication, and tone is the soul. Words say what you think, but tone shows how you feel. You see? So, and the heart responds to tone long before it processes language. So, tone is the difference between correction and criticism, guidance and control, honesty and hostility, conversation and conflict, love and injury. So, tone is not part of communication. Doctor, tone is communication.
Thank you, Professor. Let's take a break and listen to a song called Peace Among My Enemies.
They gather in shadows, they whisper in fear, but I walk in light, for the Lord is near. Their weapons may rise, their curses may fall, but I stand untouched, for He shields it all. Peace among my enemies, calm within the storm. I dine in the presence of those who wish me harm. No fear shall enter, no threat shall remain. The Lord is my fortress, my shelter in pain. They plot in silence, they scheme in vain, but I am anointed beyond their chain. Their numbers may swell, their voices may roar, but heaven defends me. They'll not be more.
Welcome back. Let's continue with our discussion. Why is timing one of the most underrated skills in marriage communication?
Thank you, Doctor. So, timing is one of the most underrated skills in marriage because people think communication is about what you say. But communication succeeds or fails because of when you say it. You see? A reasonable message at the wrong moment becomes a wound. A hard truth at the right moment becomes healing. Timing is the invisible architecture of emotional connection. So, timing matters because the heart has windows, not doors. Doors open anytime. Windows open only at the right moment. So, your partner's heart works the same way. There are moments when they are open and receptive, and moments when they are tired, overwhelmed, defensive, or elsewhere. So, speak when the window is closed, and even truth feels like an attack. Timing matters because emotional readiness determines comprehension. You see, a person cannot hear you when they are stressed, angry, exhausted, distracted, or flooded. You may be offering clarity. They are receiving pressure. You see? So communication is not just expression, it is reception. So timing matters because conflict has emotional gravity. When emotions rise, logic drops. You see? When someone feels attacked, they shift from connection to protection. So speaking then is like pouring water into a closed bottle. Nothing enters. Timing matters because peace is a better teacher than anger. So hard conversations land better when the room is calm, the tone is soft, the moment is neutral, the heart is steady. So a peaceful moment can carry a heavy truth. So timing matters because marriage is rhythm, advocate, not reaction. Healthy couples wait for the right moment, choose the right emotional climate, sense openness, and hold back when the moment is wrong. This is not avoidance. You see, it is wisdom. Timing matters because love is not just what you say. You see, it is how and when you say it. So the wrong time turns a message into criticism. The right time turns the same message into connection. So the truth is simple, advocate. Couples don't struggle because they lack communication. They struggle because they lack timing. Timing is the difference between connection and conflict, clarity and confusion, healing and hurting, being heard and being resisted. So timing is not a small skill. Timing is emotional strategy, doctor. Timing is relational intelligence, and timing is love in its most disciplined form.
Thank you, Professor. What damage is caused when a spouse speaks while angry, emotional, or unregulated?
Thank you, doctor. So when a spouse speaks while angry or unregulated, the damage is rarely in the words. It is in the emotional state behind them. Unregulated emotion doesn't communicate truth. It communicates pain, fear, and impulse. And in marriage, that leaves marks that outlive the moment. Unregulated speech destroys emotional safety. So marriage survives on what? On the safety to speak, to be imperfect, to be vulnerable. Anger turns the home into what? Into a battlefield, and it teaches the partner, I must protect myself. I cannot be honest here. My feelings are not safe. When safety collapses, intimacy collapses with it. You see? Unregulated speech turns temporary emotions into permanent injuries, doctor. Anger is temporary, but words are permanent. The rage fades, but the sentences echo. You always, you never, I am tired of you, you are the problem. These become emotional scars. You see? So, angry communication shifts the marriage from partnership to what? To opposition. In that state, the goal is no longer to solve. It is now to win. Conversations become defensive, accusatory, competitive, destructive. Two teammates become opponents. Unregulated speech destroys trust in emotional stability. So a spouse begins to think, I don't know which version of you I will get. I must walk on eggshells. I can't predict your reaction. So unpredictability now erodes trust faster than almost anything. So anger-driven communication teaches the partner to shut down. They speak less, share less, avoid conflict, hide their truth. So silence becomes what? Survival. And silence is the slow death of a marriage. So unregulated speech replaces connection with fear. So fear of the next explosion, fear of the next insult, fear of the next emotional ambush. Where fear grows, love retreats. So the truth is simple, advocate. Speaking while angry expresses the wound, not the what? The truth. Speaking while emotional multiplies the problem. Speaking while unregulated breaks the foundation of the marriage. A regulated spouse protects the home. An unregulated spouse shakes it. Emotional discipline is not optional. It is the difference between a home that heals and a home that hurts.
Thank you, Professor. Why do many couples listen to defend, not to understand? And what does that do to the home?
Thank you, Doctor. So, couples listen to defend, not to understand, because defense is instinct. Understanding is discipline. Defense is automatic. Understanding is intentional. So defense protects the ego. Understanding protects the marriage. So couples defend because they feel threatened, not heard. When someone feels criticized, misunderstood, blamed, or unsafe, their brain shifts from connection to protection. They stop listening for meaning and start listening for danger. So the goal becomes survival, not understanding. They defend because they are preparing a response, not receiving one. This is how I feel gets head as. This is why you are wrong. You see? So they build counter arguments, explanations, justifications, comebacks. The conversation becomes a debate, not a dialogue. They defend because they fear blame. Old wounds, childhood criticism, past rejection, punished mistakes make even gentle feedback feel dangerous. Okay? They defend not because they are guilty, but because they are afraid. They defend because they want to win, not to resolve. So when ego enters, the marriage leaves. I must be right replaces we must understand. In marriage, when one wins, the relationship loses.
Sorry, Professor. What does this do to the home?
Advocate, it turns the home into a courtroom, in short. So every conversation becomes evidence, defense, accusation, verdict. No softness, no curiosity, no safety. Secondly, it kills vulnerability. So why people open up if I will be attacked? So they shut down. Silence becomes the slow death of intimacy. Thirdly, it creates emotional distance. Walls replace bridges. Partners feel like opponents, not teammates. It replaces connection with resentment. So constant defense breeds quiet bitterness, emotional rust that speaks or spreads. Then it makes conflict endless. No one feels understood. No one feels validated. So the same argument repeats for years. The truth advocate. Couples listen to defend because they are protecting themselves. But in doing so, they stop protecting the marriage. You see? A home cannot survive on defense. A home survives on understanding. Understanding is not agreement. Yeah? Understanding is not surrender. Understanding is not weakness. Understanding is love in its most intelligent form.
Thank you, Professor. How do assumptions become the root of unnecessary conflict in marriages?
Thank you, Advocate. So assumptions are silent killers of marriage because they replace truth with imagination. And imagination is almost always harsher than reality. You see? So assumptions create conflict out of thin air. When a spouse assumes instead of asking, they react to a story, not to their partner. Once the mind creates a story, the heart responds as if it's true. Assumptions turn partners into enemies. Let me understand becomes, let me defend myself. So suspicion replaces partnership. The home shifts from trust to tension. Assumptions punish the innocent. So most conflict comes from misinterpretation, not wrongdoing. A delayed reply becomes disrespect. A tired tone becomes rejection. A forgotten task becomes lack of love. The partner is innocent. The assumption is guilty. So assumptions block real communication. When you assume, you stop asking, is it? When you stop asking, you stop listening. When you stop listening, you stop understanding. And without understanding, marriage becomes guesswork. So assumptions activate insecurity. They are born from fear, past wounds, overthinking, emotional triggers. So when the conflict becomes bigger than the moment, it becomes what? A replay of old pain. Assumptions about it creates emotional distance. A spouse who is constantly misjudged eventually withdraws. They stop explaining, stop opening up, stop trying. So no one wants to live in a home where they are always wrong in someone else's imagination. So the simple truth is this, advocate. Assumptions create unnecessary conflict because they replace conversation with conclusion, curiosity with accusation, and truth with fear. So a marriage heals the moment partners stop assuming and start asking.
Thank you, Professor. Let's take a break and listen to a song called The Courtroom of Heaven.
In the courtroom of heaven, truth stands tall. No sabotage, no shadow shall stall. The judge is righteous, the verdict pure. My case is sealed, my hope is sure. In the courtroom of heaven, grace prevails, where mercy speaks and justice sails. No accusation can remain. The blood has spoken. I'm The scroll was read, the gavel fell, the chains were loosed, the prison cell. Now I stand free, no longer bound. In heaven's court, I'm glory crowned. In the courtroom of heaven, grace prevails, where mercy speaks and justice sails. No accusation can remain. The blood has spoken. I'm Let every lie be cast away. Let truth arise and light the way. My name is written, not erased. In heaven's court, I stand in grace. In the courtroom of heaven,
Welcome back. Let's continue with our discussion. Why do some spouses jump to accusations instead of asking clarifying questions?
Thank you, Doctor. So, some spouses jump to accusations instead of asking questions because accusations feels faster, safer, and more protective. But it destroys the very relationship they think they are defending. So, accusation is a defense mechanism. Questions require vulnerability. So, to ask, you must be open. To accuse, you only need fear. So, accusation say, I'm protecting myself. The question says, I trust you enough to hear your truth. You see? Accusation is driven by insecurity, not evidence. So, when someone is triggered, their mind fills the blanks with the fear. It's not logic, it's emotional panic. You see? Accusation gives a false sense of control. So, accusing first feels like armor against uncertainty, anxiety, or powerlessness. But the armor blocks connection. So, some spouses grew up where questions were punished, you see. So, homes with criticism, hostility, or unsafe communication teach people to strike first. It's learned survival, not intentional harm. And accusation is quicker than emotional regulation. It takes maturity to pause and ask. Help me understand. It takes none to say, you are lying. You are hiding something. You don't care. You see? So instead of saying, help me understand, they jump and say, you're lying. You are hiding something. You don't care. Because it's easy to say that. So accusation is emotional impulsiveness. You see? What does this do to the home? It creates fear instead of safety. It replaces curiosity with conflict. It punishes the innocent. It teaches the partner to shut down. It turns the marriage into a battlefield. So a home cannot survive on accusations. A home survives on clarity. And clarity begins with one simple, mature sentence. Before I assume, let me ask.
Thank you, Professor. How does misinterpreting tone, text messages, or delays in response create chaos?
Thank you, Doctor. So, misinterpreting tone or text is one of the fastest ways to create chaos in a marriage. And this is happening every day. Because the message you receive is rarely the message your partner sent. You see? A short text becomes an attitude. A delayed response becomes a rejection. A neutral message becomes disrespect. And suddenly, the home is on fire over something that never actually happened. So, text has no tone, you see? So, the mind supplies its own. And the mind rarely chooses the gentle interpretation. It chooses the fearful one, the insecure one, the wounded one. So I always do it when I'm communicating with someone. If they send me a message, we're talking, I can see where the conversation is going. I say, can we talk this in person? I always do that. I will be seeing that what I am saying is not what they are decoding. They have their own thing already in their mind. So, a simple okay, you just say okay, becomes you are angry. Just say okay. A delayed response becomes you are ignoring me. A busy moment becomes you don't care. And once the imagination takes over, the heart reacts as if the story is true. Now you are fighting a battle that exists only in your head. And your partner is confused, defensive, or hate because they are being punished for a crime they didn't commit. That's how chaos enters the home. Not through what was said, but through what was assumed. So, when couples slow down long enough to ask, hey, what did you mean by that? You see? Or, are you okay? I wasn't sure how to read that message. The storm dissolves instantly. Do you get where I'm getting to? Most marital chaos isn't caused by communication. It is caused by misinterpretation.
Thank you, Professor. How has WhatsApp culture, blue ticks, last seen delay, replies, create new forms of marital conflict?
Thank you, Doctor. So WhatsApp has created a brand new category, you see, of marital conflict. Conflict that doesn't come from behavior, but from digital interpretation. So blue ticks have become emotional triggers. Last seen has become evidence. Delayed replies have become betrayal. And none of it is real, actually. It's all projection. A spouse sees blue ticks and thinks, you saw my message and you chose not to respond. But maybe the phone was in their hand while they were busy. Or the message opened accidentally. Or they planned to reply properly later. Okay? Last scene becomes a story. You were online, but not talking to me. Many people do this. So they think your being online must be only talking to them. Your whole life revolves around them. You don't talk to anyone else. You don't talk to your father. You don't talk to your brother. Because you were online. But you're not talking to me. But maybe they were checking the time, or reading a work message, or clearing notifications. You understand? So, and a delayed reply, that one is the biggest storm starter. You see? A delay becomes rejection. It becomes disrespect. It becomes emotional distance. But in reality, the partner might simply be living life. You see? Let me give you an example. If two messages come in, mine and someone's message, even if you read it, you will quickly come to reply to mine and then go back there. Life is happening, isn't it? WhatsApp has created a world where silence is suspicious, where timing is emotional, and where technology becomes the third person in the marriage. The chaos doesn't come from the app, is it? It comes from the assumptions attached to it. Because the moment a spouse interprets digital behavior through insecurity, the home becomes a courtroom built on what? On imagination, not truth. And that's how WhatsApp culture quietly rewrites the emotional climate of marriage, Doctor.
Wow, this is amazing. Let's take a commercial break and stay tuned.
At Springfield Research University, we don't teach to pass exams, we encode futures. Grounded in Education 6.0 and powered by STEMmer, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, medicine and automation, we deliver modular, sovereign learning across undergraduate, master's and doctoral programs. Explore our prospectus, where every curriculum is designed to stematize every discipline, dignify local authorship, and credential transformative knowledge. Be stematized, be sovereign. Here, knowledge is authored, not borrowed. Curriculum is credentialed, not copied. Every graduate becomes an architect of transformation. With 2 annual intakes, March and September, the path to innovation is always open. From the logic of automation to the soul of indigenous intelligence, SRU is where tomorrow is designed. Springfield isn't just a university, it's an epicenter of epistemic dignity. Join the movement. Study where learning governs itself. Springfield Research University, the globe is here. Where are you?
Welcome back. Let's continue with our discussion. How can couples learn to express needs without attacking, blaming, or shaming each other?
Thank you, Doctor. So, couples learn to express needs without attacking when they realize that a need is not a weapon, it's an invitation. So, most conflicts comes from how the need is delivered, not the need itself. You see? When a spouse says, you never listen, so the partner hears failure. When they say, I feel closer to you when you listen to me, the partner hears desire. Same need, different impact. You see? The shift happens when couples stop speaking from blame and start speaking from what? From truth. You see? I do this when to my students that I supervise. I want to say your work is not good, but I start by saying good things. I say, you did this very well, but you see? So it's same words, but different impact. So blame says, you are the problem. Truth says, this is what I feel and this is what I need. And the moment you speak from feeling instead of accusation, your partner stops defending themselves and starts understanding you. You see? It's not about softening the message, no. It's about removing the attack, because needs are not demands. Needs are not criticisms. Needs are not shame. Needs are the roadmap to connection. And when couples learn to express them gently, the home becomes a place of safety, not battlefield.
Thank you, Professor. What daily habits can couples adopt to keep communication open, respectful, and emotionally stable?
So, thank you, Doctor. So, couples keep communication open when they treat it like a daily practice, not a crisis response. So, it's the small habits that protect what? The big love. So, a simple check-in at the end of the day. How is your heart today? Keeps the emotional doors open. A moment of gratitude. I appreciated what you did earlier. You see? Keeps the respect alive. A gentle pause before reacting. Let me understand you first. You see? It keeps the home safe. And choosing softness in tone, even when the topic is hard, keeps the conversation humane. So, it's not grand gestures that make communication work. It's the daily discipline of kindness, curiosity, and presence. So, when couples practice that consistently, the home becomes a place where both the hearts can breathe.
What does it take for a couple to rebuild communication after years of hurt, silence, or misunderstanding?
Thank you, Doctor. So rebuilding communication after years of hate is not a quick repair. It's a slow resurrection. It takes patience. It takes humility. It takes two people choosing the relationship over their pride. The first step is honesty. Not the sharp kind, but the gentle kind. The kind that says, I'm wounded, but I still want us. Because healing doesn't begin with what? With perfection. You understand? It begins with willingness. Then comes safety. You cannot rebuild communication in a home where every word is a risk. So the couple has to relearn softness, tone, timing, presence. They have to create a space where truth can breathe again. And then comes consistency. No grand gestures, no emotional fireworks, just small, steady moments of connection, daily check-ins, calm conversations, simple kindness. Rebuilding communication is really rebuilding trust. So, and the trust grows the same way as seed grows. You see, quietly, slowly, but powerfully. When both people keep watering it. You don't plant and not water, it will not grow. A marriage doesn't heal because the past disappears. It heals because the future becomes possible again. Thank you, Advocate, for having me.
Thank you, President, for reframing communication not as casual conversation, but as the structural backbone of marriage. Your emphasis on tone, timing, and emotional intelligence reminds us that communication is not a soft skill, it is civic architecture. To our audience, if you are ready to transform your communication into a tool of peace, clarity, and emotional stability, Springfield Research University awaits you. Visit www.springfieldresearchuniversity.net and join the mission to structure life and leadership with sovereign wisdom. That brings us to the end of this diagnostic edition of Springfield Career Insights. May tonight's reflections provoke understanding, emotional discipline, and sovereign resilience. I am Clarence, your host. Good night.
Hey, hey, siyakupuga tikitile futsanza lunga kiwa hey 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 siyakupuga sonke siyavumelana ngemjulu lomuhle sonke similela. In the heart of Springfield a new dawn breaks with Channel Yamaswati our future takes shape. Career insights, knowledge shared so bright. Together we rise, reaching new heights. Springfield's calling, let's unite. With Channel Yamaswati, we ignite. Innovation and growth, we lead the way. Together we shine, here to stay. Together we rise, together we shine. Celebration time, our vision clear.